Guys, we'll call a meeting to order with 9 justices present out of the 11 of us. Glad to have everybody here, including our elected officials and representatives from the police department, the sheriff's department. I don't think today's meeting will be very long. We're halfway through the year, 50%, June 30th. Our county general budget's only ended up that first 6 months at 41%. County roads at 34, landfill at 32, and jail at 42. All the elected officials are running slightly under budget. Everybody's doing a good job of holding on to their expenditures. Does a real good job. Mississippi County's always been real good about that. We have a few items of business to take care of. Just a few things that I noted in the budget. I've already talked with the sheriff's department reps back in the back there. Overtime pay. I don't know if we just didn't budget enough or if it's up that much more. I haven't had time to go back and compare it with last year's budget. On page 19 of the expenditure report, he's over. That's just in the sheriff's regular general fund budget. He's at 154%, but he didn't budget but $15,000. And right now we're at 23,218 and only halfway through the year. So I'm wondering if maybe we didn't slip up maybe in our budgetary process. And talking with Rob and the guys back there, one of the differences that I think the sheriff has made, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, guys, or chime in, Rob or Charlie or any of you, is the comp time. They're not doing comp time. They're taking the overtime pay. But if you look on page 89 and go to the jail, that's a little different functioning entity out there, but still, we budgeted $42,000 in overtime in the jail, and we're at $49,108. 116% of the budget halfway through the year. Are we going to do another $40,000? You know, are we going to end up $50,000 over budget just in overtime in the jail? And is that a mistake in our budgeting process, or is it a difference in the time that we're actually expending and the difference in the comp time? You got any comments on that? You're not doing payroll anymore so much, so.
I don't see their time sheets all the time. I just know that they have quite a bit every pay period, you know.
Rob, you want to comment, sir?
I think a lot of it's coverage. The jail specifically is short-handed anyway.
Yes, sir.
So they're having to have people come in and cover shifts, and they're paying them overtime. In patrol,
Why are we short-handed?
it's hard to hire anybody. Right now, we're at 4 or 5 down. And
Positions open and funded, but no people available?
Exactly. And getting people qualified to be able to pass the background is hard too. The patrol division, when they've got people off, you still have to have coverage in the outside of the county, so you have to bring somebody in to cover their shift. The street crime unit, it's all funded through it's all paid overtime. And then in CID, if somebody's called out for a robbery or burglary or something like that, they're paid overtime on that.
You know, the coverage thing, being short-handed, particularly in the jail, would make a lot of sense because, you know, maybe we're going to be a little bit shorter and cover some of it out of salaries that's not being expended. But on our overtime, what rate do they get paid at on overtime? So that time and a half is more expensive than regular salary time.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll look, I know you're going to pass it out later, but when we start looking at that JSAP, part of our problem is our jail is the most underpaid place we've got.
So, just wanted to, and I had talked with the guys over there, and you know, I'm sure they will look at it now. We'll look at it a little bit more. Our 911 coordinator is not here today, but on page 62, I guess this was my overtime weekend. We're doing overtime in 911, and I don't really know where's the need there.
Well, it's not for him, it's for, he pays half the salaries for all the dispatchers, the 911 dispatchers.
Oh, is that
So
where that's
half of-
going?
Yeah, half of their salaries and half of their overtime comes out of 911.
Okay, see, I was thinking it's just him and the sign guys.
No, none of them get overtime, it's just the communications at the jail.
Okay. Well, that could be some more of this coverage issue again then. Page 36, I had a question. 36. Yeah, on 36 on this, our Mississippi County employee bill, do the auditors fuss? That's account 1002, Mississippi County employee insurance account. We didn't budget anything in there, and that's all paid back in. You know, it's, I mean,
Yeah, well, if we budget stuff, it increases what it shows we're gonna spend, when really we only spend what we deposit, so
What they
we
bring
just
in.
leave it, yeah.
but they don't fuss at us, the auditors don't fuss at us over that. As long as they don't care, I don't care. As long as we know what it is. Economic development. Justice Nelson. Tamika's come to us and in our workforce training monies that we appropriated last year, $200,000 has kind of fallen through the crack on the 2018 appropriations that we did not reappropriate for 2019, and she's asking us to add that back in the budget.
She should have said something to me while we were at the meeting. Since she didn't, we're not gonna talk about it.
You demand.
Change it one way or the other.
Seriously, that's fine with me.
I'm serious.
Okay. Janitor's hours. We voted, remember last month, to do the janitor's hours. We talked about janitors going to 40 hours as opposed to 32.5. Judge, you hired the new guy down in Osceola, correct?
Yes.
Jamie's sitting here today, I just noticed that. Do you have him on a set time frame, set schedule? I mean, what kind of hours? He's turning in varying time cards.
No, I have not spoken with him since our last.
Speak of the devil, I mean Janice.
Well, she'll know.
We were just talking about the janitor in Osceola.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, we had approved and hired and all that kind of stuff. But just making him work and fit in payroll, do we not have just a set time that he works, like 8 to 5 or 7 to 3 or noon to 2 or whatever?
Well, one week he did kind of different things because I didn't realize he was coming in at 8. But I told him until we get a set pattern for him, like if the judge wants him to go to Burdette or something, then he could just work from 9 to 4:30, since we're not there.
So what kind of hours does that,
But I gave him 32.5.
Does that work?
A week.
Yeah, the problem is switching back and forth.
Yeah, I told him not to switch, to go ahead and just do that 9 to 4:30 for now, until the judge changes it.
okay. As long as we're all on the same thing and he fits in the model of the payroll model.
I think that'd be fine right now, just keep that up.
Okay, cool. Is that okay with you too, Kelly? Okay with you, James? Cool. As long as the judge is happy, we all happy. Do we want to talk about the IRS and the issues we've got there, Judge? What you're working on?
Yes, I spoke with
Now,
Senator.
the rest of the committee really, not, in fact, the rest of the court has no clue where we're at or what we're talking
Okay,
about.
all right. I think it started about 18 months ago. The Arkansas State Legislative Audit, not our
auditors.
report, but the department had requested that we change up the way that we distribute our payroll, where we were doing it on Friday then. And it wasn't a true representation because our work week ends on Saturday. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to change it to where Saturday's the last day of the week, and then Monday, we can make any changes that we weren't aware of on Friday, and then Tuesday, we do payroll. Well, what happened is when we submitted our payroll liabilities, they left the county on a Friday. And for some reason, the IRS doesn't post when they get it, they posted Monday. So we were given 3 days, but we were 1 day late for over a year apparently. And so what they did was they sent us, last Wednesday, they told us that we needed to pay $10,275 in penalties. $10,274, I believe. So this weekend I contacted Dave Wallace, Courtney Nance, which is a representative of, or a field representative of Senator Bozeman. And then this morning I spoke with 2 more reps from Senator Bozeman's office. The last one, well, the middle one was Mr. Higginbotham over at Jonesboro, and then also Kathy Watson that's over in the Fort Smith office. So she deals more directly with things like the Internal Revenue Service. I have since gotten an email from her, which is, all I have to do is sign it, and in fact I'm going to sign it as soon as I get back after this meeting and send it back to her, and that will give them the paperwork that they need where they can intervene and speak on our behalf. So I've expressed to them how much this needs to be done in a hurry because Friday is the last day and we don't want to aggravate the Internal Revenue Service any more than we have to. So I feel confident that we'll get that at least mitigated, if not abated. So.
Wasn't anybody's fault.
No.
You know,
No,
just,
we did everything that the auditors wanted us to do immediately. We did everything that the IRS wanted us to do immediately.
man, I appreciate you getting on that like you did. Maybe I shouldn't have. I kept thinking Kelly and I could get it done, and boy, she was working hard at it, but they just weren't cooperative at all. So, do appreciate you jumping in on that. I got one quick question, and Harley, this comes to you, and it's not getting on you. I'm just as a matter of principle and stuff, policy, I guess, as much as anything. You paid for an ad, and that's not a bad thing, but you paid for an ad for Relay for Life out of your county budget.
Well, they shouldn't have come out of the county budget, it should have came straight to me. I told them when they paid for it, I told them it was mine.
So that was unintentional?
They charged it to the wrong person. They charged y'all, and I always run an ad, and I pay for it.
Okay.
So, no, I did, in fact, I was waiting for the bill and hadn't seen it, so,
Oh, well, that's because we paid it.
okay.
And I wasn't gonna fuss, but I just needed to figure out, is that gonna be something that we let everybody do, or?
No, I knew, I've done it every year.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. I mean, it's a nice thing, and it's a worthy cause. I'm not on you. I was just trying to figure out which direction we wanted to go there, and I like your direction, actually, so. Judge, you got anything you wanna?
I can tell y'all, I don't know how much you want to hear. I'm working with, I think I've shared with you the letter that I've been corresponding with Brad Smithy.
Mm-hmm.
That went out this weekend, and you know, of course, maybe it's common that county judges and the district engineers and the highway department maybe not see everything just exactly alike, but we haven't since the beginning. And the interstate looks awful. It's, and we travel up, Angie and I travel up and down that interstate. We've done it quite a bit here lately, and we've never left or entered Mississippi County without knowing by the look of the grass and the weeds where we are. So he had called the other day and had mentioned there were some things that he didn't realize until here lately. And he said that he was going to make changes in the way they handle our interstate system. So I think that was very encouraging. because we don't even apply any herbicides. And I mean, you can go into Crittenden County and it's obvious where they're applying their herbicides. So we're going to begin that program. I've also requested to have access to their median and right of way. And we are considering purchasing an 85 or 110 horsepower tractor and a 15 or 20 foot batwing mower, and having one employee begin at the 22 mile marker or the Missouri state line and go to the Crittenden County line. I figured it'd take him somewhere around 2 days, maybe less, and say 40 miles at 4 miles an hour. I don't know if we could average that or not, but that would be 10 hours. But say less than 2 days, then we could get over 30 feet mowed in less than a week. And so if we supplement the people that have the contract right now, and that holds to be true, I think we can keep our interstates looking really nice. That's one of the things that we're working on. We're also working on the Senate Bill 145 that Dave Wallace sponsored this past session that allow us to put solar panels up and sell electricity back to our energy providers. I met with Justice Burge this morning and we discussed that possibility. Some of our, one thing that it doesn't make it as attractive here as it does other places is that we've got the steel mills, so we buy so much electricity in bulk that our rates are already way down compared to some of the other parts of the state. But I still think that this may work. I'm going to meet with the hospitals as soon as this meeting's over, try to get them on board, and it may make it to where it's not just feasible, but where it'll save us money. I'm hoping that it'll save, especially with our energy account. Our Mississippi County Electric Company their rates are so far down that may not be as lucrative there as it is on our others, but I don't know. In fact, Kelly got all the bills together. Do you know about how much we pay in total for electric bills, all of the county?
No, I didn't look at that.
Well, I'm sure it's substantial.
Yeah, the energy especially.
And the way that works is that we'll go ahead and continue to receive bills from the electric company, but on the days that we're able to generate solar power, we'll have a meter and we'll sell that part back to them. So it's a matter of being able to pay the lease agreement and offset some of our bills, and I'll know how far we can go on that probably in another week or 10 days. But those are two items we're working on. Oh, another one, there is a old class 4 that is directly east of the old closing class 1 and the one that we've got now, the one that runs, it borders the road that goes back to the sheriff's department. We're considering bringing a laser out there and marking off positions about 20 feet apart in irregular rows and put cypress trees there. And that'll be on maybe half of that ground. I'm talking with the ADEQ now about that. And then the other half maybe will be the place for these solar panels to go. And speaking of the landfill, we're probably, and Justice Burge, I think you told me this morning, we'll be with Hendricks our plans to be through if it didn't rain this week.
By the end of the month.
By the end of the month, so.
This will set him back some, but.
We're coming along really well, and the road department is helping out quite a bit. We're not leaving any spoil from any ditch that we're cleaning out right now in the county. We're bringing it back to the landfill, so the landfill can take that dirt and put it up there on top.
It's actually kind of a win for most everybody on that.
It slows down some of our digging, a little bit, but, because
Yeah, but it kind of helps with the landlords or the landowners sometimes too.
Especially this year, because they, not gonna have time to take the spoil down, and they don't want that in the field. And so I've come across more than one farmer and landlord in that area. So it does, it's kind of a win-win situation.
And the landfill looks tremendously better.
Oh, yeah.
Since the tractor's been purchased and they've really been doing a lot of work.
If you haven't been out to landfill, you need to go, especially if you know what it used to look like, because James Roundtree has taken this and really embraced it. We and I had long talks about what that should look like. I had no idea he would take me to heart like he has, but that tractor is constantly moving. It has mowed the whole area. The 2 young men that he had hired, you can see where they put Roundup on the borders and around telephone poles. They're cleaning out ditches. You give Mr. Roundtree another month and that place will look like a park.
That's a good thing.
Really shaping up.
You know, one thing I noted on here is and it just still, I just got this great big chicken bone that sticks out both sides from previous years, but the amount of dirt and stuff that we're buying now, you know, I mean, for the year, we're at $12,000.
Well, I guess we bought so much in past years, we've got extra dirt, I don't know.
I'm just saying, it's just,
It is remarkable.
I look at those numbers and I don't know whether to just jump for joy or go to the bathroom and throw up, but
You can look
it
at
could go either way.
You can look at equipment repair and get the same results.
Yeah, sure can. Sure can. Pass one of those down if you would. Mr. Betty, one. Guys, we promised, back even in the first of the year, oh, excuse me, I got another one, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just as Clay was hiding from me. We promised back the first year that we'd take time and we'd look at the bottom tier of our county salary schedules and see what we could do midpoint in the year. We're there. Here we are in July. What I'd like to do is, what I passed out are some kind of revised versions of the 2018 Jessup versus 2019 pay. Kelly did this for me at my request, and she spent a lot of time on this that she didn't have to, but I appreciate what you did. Tell them what they've got right here.
Well, it looks just like the report that came in the JSAP report last year, except everybody's salary is updated with the 2019 rate. And
So
then,
these have the raises in them, the $1,500 raises that we gave.
yes. And then where you're seeing the quartiles, well, actually, let's go back. The salary, the columns for the minimum, midpoint, and max. If they do not work 40 hours a week, then those amounts have been adjusted to reflect the hours that employee actually works.
In the original JSAP program schedule, everything was compared to a 40-hour week, and that's a 2,080-hour week, 40 weeks, 40 hours, 52 weeks, and our courthouse employees don't work quite that much. 1,690, is that right?
For courthouse.
Yeah. And so we were trying to compare 1,690 hours against 2,080 hours, and it was really skewing the deal. So what she's done is she's taken the courthouse employees and anybody else that only works those 6.5-hour days, and then adjusted the salary schedule so that it would reflect correctly against the other comparables. The other way we could have done it would have been gone the other way and reflected it for 40 hours. So I just wanted everybody to have a copy of this to look at them. And what I'd like to do is schedule a day later this week and just get finance back and anybody else that'd like to come and talk just about this Jessup schedule and the raises and the people that are in the lower categories. It's not as bad as it looked initially. Before we gave the raises. Keep in mind, and for the 2018 budget, we gave $1,000 raises to all regular employees. In the 2019 budget, we gave $1,500 raises for this year's budget. So in the last 18 months, we've given $2,500 per employee across the board. And so that really helped us in relation to how we stack up in the JSAP schedule. But still, we promised we'd do this and we'd go back and look. As you're thinking, before we get to our meeting Wednesday or Thursday, or whenever we set it up, keep in mind that most of our raises we've been given, whether say a 3% raise or $1,000 and then $2,000 for the elected officials, they run around $250,000. if we give a 3% raise, it's gonna cost generally $250,000. Might be 225, might be 240, but pretty close. So we're gonna start our regular 2020 budget process in September. What I had hoped to do is take this time and look at the lower tiers and see who needed to be raised and you know, get them off the bottom, get them below minimum. What you've got is you've got salary under minimum, salary first quartile, salary second quartile, and then right in the middle, the average, we call the midpoint, then the salary third quartile, fourth quartile, and salary over max for that particular job description. These are all based on job descriptions. In the Jessup program, there were 12 comparable entities that they used. They used counties, they used cities. I'm trying, did they use any private industries? They didn't this time, did they, Molly? But in looking at counties, the state breaks the counties down on the basis of population. We are a class 4 county, which that is just population basis. That runs from 30 to 49,999. Anything less than 50 and down to 30. And we're a class 4 county, so they used 2 or 3 class 4 counties to compare us with. They also used a couple, well, like Crittenden County is a class 5, Craighead County is a class 6. They used a couple of the larger cities. But in doing and figuring these comparables, and all those were done on job descriptions. There's been talk about trying to get everyone to the midpoint. I don't know that that's necessarily our goal, but we can, you know, that's just something for discussion when we get there. We just need them off the bottom. We just, and I know some of our people feel like they're on the bottom. In this schedule that you've got right here, we have 3 people in the county under minimum, and then we have 12 people in the first quartile. Everybody else is in the second, third, or fourth, or in just a few in the overmax quartiles. If we were to consider just taking those under minimal and those in the first quartile and trying to get everybody into at least the second quartile, we'd be talking about 15 different people that would adjust and modify the salaries. And then if we go from there into this budget schedule, it's not going to just absolutely kill us, and everybody will be in at least the second quartile. And then we look at what we can do and can afford to do in the 2020 budget, whether we want to do cost of living at 3%, across the board at 1,000. I preached this over and over again. When I say preach it, I keep restating the reason that I had pushed the last couple of years for across the board raises is because it tends to help those in the lower salary categories more than those in the upper categories. And what we were trying to do is lift the bottom, and I think we're seeing that reflection being made when you look at the raises that we've given and where it's pushed us to. If we do that one more year, I think we'll be in even better condition going into 2020. Now, we have been doing these over the last many years since John was on the court as a JP, the judge. When he was chairman of the finance committee, we were doing these Jessup programs, and we've been doing them every other year. We've been doing them every even year. I've got them in the truck that go back to 2010 right now. We'll be looking at 2020, so we'd be scheduled next summer to do another one. But to get another one, it would take them 2 months, give or take, 6 to 8 weeks to get a new one done right now and cost us $5,000. Or we can wait 6 months or 8 months and do the one that we normally schedule in 2020. This according to how everybody felt. I'm just trying to give you information to think about and consider and then bring to the table when we come back here in 2 or 3 days. Does anybody, particularly the 4 finances, does Wednesday or Thursday work better for y'all?
Either one works for me.
I don't care either. Judge, does Wednesday or Thursday, if you'd like to be here, does Wednesday or Thursday, either one work better for you as far as coming in at 1:30 or something?
This Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, like day after tomorrow or the next day?
Steve?
You're open.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Anybody else? Y'all want to set Wednesday at 1:30? Does that give you enough time to consider and think and look these over? And you know, I've got another piece of paper here that I'll be glad to share. I've given to a couple of you. One thing in looking at, it's hard to compare just a job description, and truly that's what JSEP does. They take a deputy clerk in the county clerk's office, and we have a job description for that position, and then they take that individual job description and then they apply that across the 12 comparables. And everywhere that job description matches another comparable, they compare that to. What they don't compare, and I'm gonna blame you. What I really hadn't thought about, I love having Justice Smalley on the committee. What I really hadn't thought about, it's such a fresh look, is in, say, other Class 4 counties, there are 8 counties that fall in Class 4 in the state. Out of 75, 8 of us are in that 30 to 50,000 population range. Well, one county may have, and I'm going to pick on Janice because I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but one county may have, one Class 4 county may have 2 people, and another Class 4 county may have 10 people in the same office. And then you try to make raises and salaries and money fit, and that kind of skews your numbers just a little bit too. The fact that we've got 2 courthouses that we've been mandated that we need to keep open kind of affects us. It bounces our numbers up, but we've still got that Class 4 population group to foot the bill. So it makes it a little bit more difficult in your scout salary schedule when you've got an office that may have 4 people compared to an office that's got 12 people. And this information is freely available to John Q. Public and you guys on the Arkansas Association of Counties website. You can go on Arkansas Association, just Google them, Arkansas Association of Counties, and then look at their publication library. And if you click on publications, they got several reports that you can pick from. And so I did this over the weekend and went in and I picked the 2018 salary comparisons, county salary comparisons. And in that it'll take every county and it shows every office in the county of each elected official and how many people are in that office one at a time, like Deputy Clerk 1, Deputy Clerk 2, and it tells their 2018 salary. So that's just available to the open public. And so I did that, and it's quite interesting. I was looking at several of the different offices. One that kind of threw me off just a little bit was the circuit clerk's office. I did look at one of them, and then it was Hot Springs County. Was it Hot Springs County? Independence County. One of them, it just shows one in there. One person, just the circuit clerk and one person. So I called over there and I said, there is no way one person can do all the work that the circuit clerk's office in a Class 4 county has to do. And they said, oh no. Oh no, I'll tell you where it was at. It was in Craighead. Craighead County showed showed 2. The clerk in 2 positions. And so I called over to Craighead County and I said, can 3 or 4 of y'all do all that? And they said, heck no. And I said, well, what's the deal? And so the circuit clerk has several different budgets, funds, and so those numbers only reflect the general fund. And in Craighead County in particular, they told me that the circuit clerk over there is paying 10 deputies out of her automation fund. And those weren't reflected in there, so that bumped her numbers way up to 12. Some of y'all have that, some of you don't. I can give that to you. Would you do that for me, please? It's just, and this is nothing. This particular sheet just shows the assessor, circuit clerk, and county clerk just for comparisons. Mississippi County against everybody else. Against the other 7 class 4s. And then I went ahead and threw in Crittenden County because its borders is to the south, and Craighead County because it borders is to the west. Crittenden County is a class 5 county population, 50,902. Craighead is a class 6 population, 96,443. Just another angle to consider when we look at our salary schedules and how good we feel about what we're doing. So, just wanted to get everybody on kind of the same page, get you some information to think about, and then let's try to get together Wednesday at 1:30 just to look at this, and everybody's opinion, it's wide open as to what we do and how we go about it. Do you have anything from economic development today that we need to consider?
Just what you said.
No, you told me I couldn't consider it.
They didn't call.
Do you have anything we can consider?
No.
Kelly, what am I missing, huh?
I don't think I have anything.
If we don't come up with something, we don't even need to have a meeting next week. Maybe one of the other committees will. Judge, you got anything, any business at all?
Burdette is getting closer to being ready. We'll have the floors buffed by this weekend, cleaned up. We've got, Norris came by and got the key, what was he doing today? I'm thinking that, we'll be ready. The possibility will be there if some of the offices, if we want to move by the first Monday, which I think is the 7th in August. And we're putting a plan together now. We sent out an email this morning asking for individual offices to make a plan and send them to the judge's office, what some of their special needs are going to be. And you and I spoke the other day, and you pointed out that the treasurer has a safe that I was not aware of that is considerably heavy. So if you've got...
I sent you a picture of the one in the collector's office too.
I guess I need to start looking a little more closely, but those things are not just going to roll out of there and roll into VOTEC. So if I ask for any details on equipment that they may have that will need to be disassembled and reassembled, or heavy equipment or bulky, something that would be other than just pick up and carry to VOTEC. So we're making plans there. We're considering possibility of employing a moving company to maybe help us. We're going to weigh the factors between what we've got and what we can get and compare the cost. And because the judge's office and finance and the treasurer, besides that safe, is not going to be really difficult to move, but and the other offices is going to have to move on a Friday and open up on a Friday after 4:30 and open up on a Monday before 9. So we're beginning to put all that together now.
I think maybe we can shed some light on, we're not trying to move everybody in one weekend, but you're going to set up blocks. This office, these 2 offices will move the first week of August.
Right.
These 2 or 3 will move, the ones that need to move together, like Harley probably needs to move with Susan at the same
Right.
time. You know, I mean, that's what we talked about the other day.
We can move, say, the finance department over there first and make sure everything is working. And then the judge's office and the treasurer, and then we'll worry about the county clerk and the collector and the assessor. And those will be the ones with the biggest hurdles.
Well, they can kind of pick their own schedule based on their vacations
That's
and
right.
time and
I've asked for
everything,
that
can't
too. On the emails I asked for, if there's going to be some reason, whether it's a vacation or something that's not going to be a good day or the other, and then what order you want to go in.
they? So it sounds like your goal is to maybe have the Blytheville Courthouse empty by Labor Day?
No, my goal is to have VOTEC ready by the 7th of August, and then what I will do is whatever they want to do.
Good answer.
The 5th is Monday. 5th.
That's a
So,
good answer.
so we're hoping to be prepared.
Let me ask one question
Yes,
about this
Yes,
thing that Kelly's been working on. Did I understand correctly, the employees, courthouse employees that work less than 40-hour week have been adjusted?
Well, everybody that doesn't work 40 hours a week has been
Okay.
adjusted.
It's all been adjusted then. So this is apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Okay,
That was one of the hardest things to kind of get
I
to.
can imagine. It changed a lot of things.
Oh, I know what, Janice, I was gonna ask you. We just hadn't talked about it in the last meeting or two, and I think it hits about every meeting. Where are we at on our election,
Funding?
machinery, equipment, money?
The last I heard, they were gonna try to get the money to us in September.
Yeah, she just compared it to the midpoint.
So I guess we need to work with Mr. Watorick and the Election Commission about when we need to order.
Well, we're also working on, the Secretary of State's office have been mandating what type of equipment that we could buy. So we're trying to get them to agree to let us purchase from whomever we want to. Because we have found a company that is, if we purchase from them, it'll save us somewhere along the lines of $8,000-9,000.
Excellent.
So
But y'all are on top of that and
we're
working
going
good.
to a meeting with the Secretary of State's office to try to convince him to let us buy from the company we want to buy from.
Cool. Rob, y'all got anything else from the Sheriff's Department, sir?
Unless you got some good applicants that we could hire in the jail, we sure appreciate it.
Peggy, you got anything, dear?
No, our revenues were higher than expected for May and June.
Sounds like you're doing a good job. Susan? Harley?
On the JSAP, where did you say they get their job description?
I have my references. You got your
Only
references?
elected officials.
Here you go.
It's on the back page back there.
And the thing is, did they realize that the old job description isn't even close to what they're doing today?
They only know what we give them, Harley.
Yeah, well,
Not being ugly,
how
that's
can
just-
we update our stuff? That's what I'd like to know.
You can just turn it in and I'll turn it in.
Sorry?
Rick's personnel, I'd say if it's changed, he needs to get with Rick.
Yeah, you'd work through the personnel committee on job descriptions, because you're talking about slots, and
Because
then
the thing
through
is,
the payroll
girls
department.
before was just taking, before now they're scanning, they're doing, well, not just the girls, but the guys too. They're doing everything from accounting all the way up to scanning, operating all kinds of office equipment that they never had to operate before.
I'm assuming this firm that does this, I mean, that's their business. I'm assuming they update it from time to time.
But no, the job descriptions are what we give
Oh,
them.
the job description.
They're written by the elected official or the supervisors, and we did all that when you remember, Judge? We asked everybody for their, they had to do a job description for every one of them, and occasionally we will have somebody that will come in and redo a job description or update it, and we usually go through the payroll department to get that done, but then it won't be included on the JESSIP until the next one, which we got a 2020 coming up, so any updates that you elected officials want to do, this from now to the first of the year would be very timely. The ones that they did are, who did they compare us to?
12 entities.
Baxter County, Crittenden County, DeShay, Greene, Independence, Lone Oak, Poinsett, St. Francis, City of Blytheville, City of Osceola, City of Wynn, and City of Newport. That was the 12 entities that they did us in a comparable. And Justice Houseworth was asking why, Jackson, excuse me, was asking, wondering why the cities, but what they're doing is they're close entities that might compete for that person, or job descriptions that might match up within our geographic area. That's why the cities were included. Good question though, Harv.
I was thinking private industry was also,
Well, they have on occasion done that. I was surprised when they didn't do any in this one, but they didn't.
That's who you're competing with right there.
yeah.
He definitely didn't.
Anybody?
Let's get back to this economic development. If you feel moved to do that.
I don't feel moved at all. That's your committee.
I am not moved.
Well, apparently we appropriated the money last year. I don't know why we needed to reappropriate it to begin with. When we put money in a project and it comes out on a draw basis,
Here's the thing that concerns me. If we appropriated $200,000 last year
and they didn't use it,
and they didn't spend it, I want to know why.
well, then they need to be talking to you and your committee.
That's what I'd like to know is why didn't they spend it? Now they want it reappropriated. Why?
Because we give them, not saying anything bad, but we give them $1 million here lately.
A bunch.
Yeah, so. All right, we're gonna ask Tamika to meet with Justice Nelson, and if he decides to call a committee meeting, that's his discretion. We got nothing for ordinances, for our appropriation ordinances, so. Guys, unless somebody has a deal, Wednesday at 1:30? Sorry? Wednesday at 1:30, we'll talk about Jessup. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
He showed me.